Good day. For the semifinals coverage, we will only cover the chapter on drug elimination and hepatic clearance. We will divide this chapter into three distinct sections. Firstly, I'll discuss into the anatomy and physiology of the liver, covering the pathways of drug transformation to help understand the topic. The second part covers the drug interaction up to biliary excretion, followed by the pharmacokinetic of drug elimination and clearance. We will start the discussion with the anatomy of the liver. Please note that the liver is the largest internal organs and largest gland in the body, weighing about 1,500 grams. The diaphragm separates it from the pleura, lung, pericardium, and heart. With the exception of lipids, every substance absorbed by the alimentary tract is received by the liver. It is also the major organ responsible for drug metabolism. It also stores glycogen and secretes bile. Although the liver serves as the primary organ for metabolism, other organs such as lung, kidneys, and skin can also undergo metabolism due to the presence of metabolizing enzymes. In this figure, you can see the location of the liver in relation to its neighboring organs. The thoracic cage and diaphragm conceals and protect the liver primarily in the right upper quadrant. As you can see here, this is the liver, and it is protected by your rib cage. This one. That is your rib cage. The normal liver extends deep into the 7th to 11th ribs on the right side, then crosses the midline towards the nipple. Here, this is right part. This one is the right part, and this is the left. So as you can see, it extends from right to left. Okay, so that is your liver, and below your liver are your visceral organs, so such as your intestines, stomachs. To understand more about the function of the liver, let us dissect the livers into lobes. We present here the posterior inferior view of the liver anatomically. So this is the anterior view of your liver. Pag binaliktad natin yan, ito yung makikita mo. This one. Ito yung makikita mo na view ng iyong liver pag binaliktad. So, based solely on external features, we describe the liver as having 4 lobes. Okay, there are 4 lobes. The right lobe, the left lobe, the caudate lobe, and then the quadrate lobe. However, in the anterior view, you can only see 2 lobes, the right lobe and then the left lobe. The falciform ligament and the left sagittal fissure separates the anatomically large right lobe from the smaller left lobe. Okay, this is the right lobe, which is larger than your left lobe. What separates them? It's your falciform, okay? The ligaments, okay? The falciform ligament, this one. It separates now anteriorly your left and right lobe. And also, separates by your left sagittal. Okay, this is the left or umbilical or sagittal fissures. This one. Ito. So, meaning, ito lang yung left lobe. The rest, right lobe na siya. Okay, again, mas malaki ang right lobe kaysa sa left lobe. You can see the caudate lobe and the quadrate lobe on the visceral surface. The caudate lobe is in the back and the quadrate lobe is in the front of the inferior part of the right lobe. They are separated by the right and left sagittal fissures and the porta hepatis. Let us dissect the liver lobes into liver lobules. So, liver lobules, which are the basic anatomical unit of the liver and contain hepatocytes or commonly called parenchymal cells. They are embedded in a network of interconnected um, lymphs and blood vessels. So, if we magnify each lobule, you can see the systematic arrangement of the blood vessels and ducts. In the figure, you can see the sinusoids, which are the terminal branches of the hepatic artery and portal vein. So this hepatic artery and portal vein fuses, no, within the liver and mix with the large vascular capillaries. If we trace the blood flow, blood leaves the liver via the hepatic vein, which empties into the vena cava. Additionally, remember that the liver synthesizes and secretes bile, while the gallbladder stores it. There is a common misconception that patients who have undergone cholecystectomy or bladder removal are incapable of producing bile acids. So remember that this bile acid serves as emulsifying agent for the fats we consume. But contrary to that belief, the absence of gallbladders result in the absence of stored bile acids, only the stored bile acids, because the liver still synthesizes and secretes it, which allows for a slower emulsification of fat. It is not the total absence of emulsification, but slowing of the emulsification. So the liver secretes bile acids within the liver lobule, which eventually flow through a network of channels and empty into the common bile duct. Then the common bile duct drains bile and biliary excretion products from uh, bo- from both lobes into the gallbladder. Also remember that the primary site of liver metabolism are the hepatocytes or the parenchymal cells, which also contain drug transporters in addition to CYP isoenzymes. Therefore, the assessment of a patient's liver function or condition often involves the use of liver enzymes. So if the patient has liver damage, which also damages the hepatocytes that contains your different enzymes, it will cause a significant release of enzymes such as your SGOT and SGPTs in the blood, implying that the hepatocytes are being damaged and leak the content in the blood. So, if meron kayong parents na one of their laboratory requests are is GPT or is SGOTs, so maybe the physician are to the looking at the functionality of your liver. Transporter can efflux drugs either in or out of the hepatocytes, thus influencing the rate of metabolism. So transporters, no, are also present in the bile canaliculi, which can eliminate drugs by efflux. This figure illustrates the intricate features of the sinusoids. Again, sinusoids are blood vessels that form a large reservoir of blood, facilitating drug and nutrients removal from the blood enters the general circulation. So these sinusoids lined by endothelial cells, also called as Kupffer cells. These cells are phagocytic tissue macrophages and are part of the reticuloendothelial system or your RES, which engulf worn out red blood cells and foreign materials. Studies have shown that drug metabolism in the liver is both flow and site dependent. So if there are changes in blood flow, it can greatly affect the fraction of drugs being metabolized. Siyempre, kapag mahina yung blood flow papunta sa liver, then remember na your blood carries most of the drugs, then mas maliit lang na drug ang mamimetabolize. Clinically, hepatic disease, no, such as your cirrhosis, can cause tissue fibrosis, necrosis, and hepatic shunt, resulting in changing blood flow and the bioavailability of drugs. This causes the half-lives of drugs eliminated by drug metabolism to vary widely, partly due to genetic differences in enzyme levels among different subjects and environmental factors. The quantity of enzymes involved in metabolizing drug is not uniform throughout the liver. So, again, this is your sinusoid. No, these are your sinusoids. So, lahat ng mga nag-flow na blood here. So, again, sinusoids are ano siya, dalawa yung tributaries niya, 'di ba? Dito galing siya sa artery at saka galing din siya sa vein. So, nagmix yung dalawa forming your sinusoid. And then it drains, no? The blood here drains into your central vein. Yung mas malaki sa gitna. And then the central vein connected to your vena cava. Okay? So that's the blood flow of your liver lobules. Since we already discussed the anatomy of the liver, we will proceed to its physiologic function, which is drug metabolism. So, metabolism in general serves three principal purposes. First is to supply energy for body functions and maintenance. The second principle of metabolism is to break down ingested compounds, so such as your catabolisms, no? And finally, it converts or biotransforms foreign compounds into more polar, water-soluble, and ionized structures, which facilitates easier elimination. So in this chapter, we will focus more on the third principle of metabolism. We will just focus on drug metabolism, which refers solely to the chemical biotransformation of the drug by the biochemical environment or biological environment. Often, people refer to drug metabolism as detoxification or detoxication, signifying its primary role in forming more polar and water-soluble compounds, which in turn reduces their pharmacologic activity and expedites their excretion from the body. However, we shouldn't use the term detoxification as a general term for drug metabolism because some drugs, metabolic product, no, can be even more toxic or pharmacologically active than their parent molecule. So, again, most of the drugs, kapag na-metabolize sila, they are easier to be excreted in the body kasi nagiging polar sila. However, meron ding mga gamot na kapag na-metabolize sila, makakonvert sila into more toxic. So, yung metabolites nila, instead na mas madaling ma-excrete ng body or ma-clear sa body, mas nare-reabsorb sila. Okay? And causing toxic effect. And we will discuss that later. No, we will discuss and give examples of these substances. We divide the drug metabolism section into phase 1 and phase 2. So phase 1, which are non-synthetic reactions, and phase 2, which are synthetic reactions. The most common drug metabolism reaction comprises your oxidation, reduction, hydrolysis, and conjugation. Often, competing reaction metabolize a drug simultaneously. Moreover, numerous drugs undergo sequential metabolic reactions such as oxidation, reduction, or hydrolysis, then followed by conjugation. We will discuss more of that in detail as we move along with the discussion. Drug metabolism cannot be possible without the hepatic enzymes involved in the biotransformations. The most popular among these enzymes are the monooxygenase or the mixed function oxidases or your MFOs. It is this enzyme's job to oxidize and reduce drugs or your xenobiotics and some natural metabolites like steroids of different substrates, making it easier for them to change into compounds that dissolve in water. This process is very crucial for the elimination of drugs and toxins from the body, ensuring that they do not accumulate to harmful levels. The liver parenchymal cells possess MFOs links to the endoplasmic reticulum. So you know that the endoplasmic reticulum are network of lipoprotein membranes inside the cytoplasm that is continuous with the cellular and nuclear membranes. So these MFOs, no, these enzymes are structural enzymes that constitute an electron transport system that requires reduced nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphates or your NAD, your reduced NAD, molecular oxygen, cytochrome P450, and then cytochrome P450 reductase and phospholipids. This figure illustrates the role of your MFOs in the drug biotransformation. So we will trace the cycle. Okay. So first is the attachment of your drug to the cytochrome P450 portion of the enzyme. This one, the drug. Okay. It will form a complex sa imuhang cytochrome P450. Take note that the cytochrome P450 is a heme protein with iron protoporphyrin 9 as a prosthetic group. Remember, merong iron dito si P450. Tsaka ito yung marireduce at tsaka ma-oxidize, no, in the process, in the cycle. Once the drug binds to cytochrome P450 forming a complex, then here's your NAD. Ito. This is the reduced kasi meron pa siyang hydrogen. This is the one na magagamit. This one, ito yung nagamit na. Meaning, this must be replenished. Okay? So, once the drug binds to cytochrome P450 forming a complex, your reduced NAD aids in the reduction of the cytochrome. Ito, di ba oxidized form pa ito? So, in the cycle, no, the second step is the reduction of your complex with the help of your reduced NAD. Okay? So, saan galing yung mga reduced NAD? Ito yung mga product, di ba, ng ano nyo, mga, what we call this, the Krebs cycles, no? Di ba, nagpo-produce kayo ng NAD. Tsaka yung glucose metabolism, your protein metabolism, you are producing NAD. Tsaka yung NAD na yun, very important siya para this cycle will work. When the NAD, no, the reduced NAD aids in the reduction of the cytochrome, followed by addition of oxygen and hydrogen molecule, ito na. This is now the reduced NAD, I mean the reduced na form ng complex, then addition of oxygen and hydrogen, which release water and oxidized drug. So, nag-release ka ng water and then the final product will be the water and the oxidized drug. Ito na. Na-oxidize mo na yung drug. And this drug, this is not the example of your phase 1, drug metabolism. Okay? It is your phase 1, the oxidation reduction process. And this oxidized drug can be the end result na pwede na siya ma-excrete or pwede itong oxidized drug, pwede ito siyang pumasok sa phase 2. Okay? Again, itong oxidized drug, pwede na siyang ma-excrete readily or pwede siya pumasok sa phase 2. And many lipid-soluble drug binds to cytochrome P450 resulting in their oxidation or reduction. So the cytochrome P450 consists closely related isoenzymes, or what we call the isozymes, that differ somewhat in amino acid sequence and drug specificity. That's why meron tayong mga cytochrome 3A1, familiar, cytochrome 2D. So, silang lahat, meron silang cytochrome, pero naiiba-iba sila sa attachment nila sa amino acids. So, that's why, tinatawag silang isozymes. They have the same function, but different yung structures nila. So, let's move on to the drug biotransformation reaction. So, hepatic biotransformation enzymes play a critical role in the inactivation and subsequent elimination of drugs that are difficult for the kidney to clear. Example of drugs where there is a direct relationship between the rate of drug biotransformation and elimination half-life are your theophylline, phenytoin, acetaminophen, and others. As previously mentioned, most drugs undergo biotransformation to form more polar metabolites, which are pharmacologically inactive and eliminated more quickly than the parent drug. However, for some drugs, the metabolite may be pharmacologically active, such as sa mga prodrugs ninyo, or produce toxic effects. So, prodrugs are inactive substances that upon biotransformation produce metabolites with pharmacologic activity. Drug products can also transform into more toxic substances like your paracetamol, the most commonly abused medicine. Paracetamol converts into the more hepatotoxic substance, what we call the NAPQI. The liver detoxifies NAPQI, which is a toxic metabolite of paracetamol. Then, with the aid of your glutathione, ma-detoxify itong NAPQI. Keep in mind that the liver primarily stores endogenous glutathione for its synabiotic transformation. But if the substances run out, which means a toxic metabolite is greater in number than the concentration of your reduced glutathione, then the liver will store the toxic NAPQI, which can cause hepatotoxicity. Kasi yung function talaga ng glutathione in the body is to detoxify. The one that has the detoxifying capacity are your reduced glutathione. At saka kapag nagde-detoxify siya ng mga synabiotics, magiging oxidized si glutathione. That's why kailangan niya ng mga NAD. Okay? Yung mga product ng inyong mga electron transfer chain, ng inyong mga Krebs cycles, ganun, di ba, biochem, kung naalala nyo pa. So, this is the reason bakit ba nagkaka-hepatotoxic, no? Kapag may paracetamol or kapag umiinom ng maraming paracetamol. Kasi nga, nauubos yung glutathione, yung reduced glutathione. Hindi sila nakukonsume, no? They are not consumed in the process. They can be recycled. However, mas matagal yung recovery ng glutathione. Kung mas marami yung toxic product at saka yung glutathione ay na-exhaust na or saturated na, lahat sila nagamit na, then those toxic substance, wala silang mapagpuntahan. Kasi nga, wala pang glutathione na mag-detoxify sa kanila. So, ang gagawin nila, mag-stay sila dun sa hepatocytes. And those toxic substance can kill your hepatocytes. Okay? That's why, in your paracetamol, hepatotoxicity is one of its major side effects. So, these are the common examples of drugs that transform into more toxic or pharmacologically active metabolites, no? So, your phenacetin, pyridine, sulfadiazine, and so on and so forth. Ito sila yung mga nakakonvert into more toxic substance. And then below are those prodrugs. Meaning, hindi naman toxic, pero kailangan silang ma-metabolize para ma-release or ma-transform sila into active substance. Hindi kasi sila nagagamit kapag walang metabolism na nangyayari. They are useless. Okay? Okay, so another example of products that can be converted into more active or inactive ito. So, maka-convert siya into inactive metabolite. And this product here, they can be converted into active metabolite. And please take note of the reactions. Okay? Please take note of the reactions takes place para sila ma-convert into active or inactive substance. So, ito yung example natin kanina, no? Acetaminophen or your paracetamol na once they undergo aromatic hydroxylation, magpuproduce sila ng mga reactive metabolites. And those reactive metabolites are very hepatotoxic. When we talk about how drugs are processed in the body, we can think of its journey through the two main types of reaction. As mentioned earlier, we have two phases, your phase 1 and phase 2 biotransformation. Phase 1 reaction, or also known as your asynthetic reaction, are like the body's first line of defense. They are involved in the processes like oxidation, reduction, and hydrolysis, which modify the chemical structure of drugs to prepare them for further transformation. So phase 1 reaction are the body's first step in processing the drugs. This reaction changes the drug structure a bit, making it easier for the body to eventually get rid of it. For example, oxygen can be added to a part of the drug molecule, as happens when the drug phenylbutazone, which in turns into oxyphenbutazone. This oxyphenbutazone, a version that's more polar and easier for the body to handle. Another common change is the demethylation, where a small part of the molecule is removed. No? Demethylation, removal of methyl group. This happens with your codeine, which is turned into morphine. When codeine demethylized or kukunan mo siya ng methyl group, makakonvert siya into morphine. Sometimes, drugs that are esters, like your aspirins and benzocaines, go through hydrolysis. This reaction splits the molecule and produce smaller, more polar parts like your salicylic acid. No? For example, sa aspirin, kapag nag-hydrolyze siya, nagiging aspirin siya. Or para-aminobenzoic acid for the benzocaine. So, itong mga na-hydrolyze na product, they are more easier for the body to manage. However, certain drugs like acetaminophen or benzopyrene, component in smoke, benzopyrene, ito yung makukuha mo sa mga charcoal barbecue. Ito sila. Ito yung carcinogenic na component. Kaya sabi nila kapag mahilig ka ng barbecue, you are more prone to get cancer. It's because of the benzopyrene. This metabolite, no, or product or chemicals can form highly reactive, no, byproducts called epoxides during the process. And this epoxide can be harmful. They might damage the liver cells in case of your paracetamol or acetaminophen, or lead to cancers, no? Yung na-mention ko kanina, yung benzopyrene. The drug salicylic acid is an interesting case. It can either go straight to phase 2 reaction, which it combines with other molecules, or take multiple pathways with phase 1 to create a variety of products. So this flexibility shows how diverse the body's approach to drug processing can be. So again, kanina sabi natin na ang biotransformation ng drug product can undergo in both simultaneously or sequentially. Meaning, pwede siyang dumaan sa phase 1 lang at wala ng phase 2, and a series of phase 1 and no phase 2, or phase 1 first and then phase 2 thereafter, bago pa siya ma-excrete sa body. Then we have phase 2 reaction or the synthetic reaction, which takes it a step further by linking these modified drugs to other substances in a process called conjugation. This is where drugs become more even water soluble, making it easier for the body to eliminate them. Interestingly, no, some drugs can mimic natural substances in our body and tap into our existing metabolic pathway. For instance, in your isoproterenol um, is processed by an enzyme called your COMT or catechol O methyltransferase. Tsaka your amphetamine gets broken down by your MAO. Both of these enzymes play a vital role in how our body handles noradrenaline, showcasing the intricate connection between drug metabolism and our natural biochemistry. So once a drug molecule has a polar group added from phase 1, it's ready for phase 2 or conjugation reaction. Think of phase 2 as a finishing step kasi kanina yung phase 1 is tinatawag natin siya kanina as ano yon um, first line, okay? This first line of defense, kumbaga. So ito namang phase 2, isip natin siyang finishing step where the body combines a drug with another molecule to make it easier to get rid of. For example, your salicylic acid. Again, salicylic acid is very interesting drug because it can undergo either in phase 1, phase 2, or phase 1 and phase 2. Okay? So salicylic acid no from aspirin can combine with glycine to form salicylic acid or with can combine with glucuronic acid to form salicylglucuronide. In this reaction, the body uses energy-rich helper molecule such as your UDPGA or SAM that acts like carriers. So enzymes, no, there are special proteins help the drug combine these helpers to create a new or easier to eliminate form of drug. Most phase 2 reaction happens smoothly, especially at low drug doses. But if there is a high concentration of a drug, some of this reaction can become overwhelmed or saturated. For instance, in the glucuronidation reaction, generally they can handle high doses, no, but can slow down if doses are very high. In contrast, pathways like glycine or sulfate conjugation reach their limit faster, even at typical therapeutic doses. So si glucuronidation, mas mataas yung capacity niya na mag-metabolize. Tsaka, mas slow down lang yung metabolism using this reaction if the dose of the drug is higher than your enzyme. This limitation can happen because the body can only has limited amount of enzymes or helper molecules for this reaction. So it can only process a certain amount of drug at a time. Kaya nga, wag tayong sobra-sobrang uminom ng gamot kasi hindi na pa-process lahat ng gamot na yon. Kapag hindi siya na-process, hindi siya na-metabolize, remember, they will stay in your biophase. The more they stay in your biophase, the more sila mag-exert ng pharmacologic effect and then to the point na magiging toxic effect na yung kanilang nagagawa. Kasi nga wala pang enzyme na mag-metabolize sa kanila. Some phase 2 reactions vary from person to person due to the genetics composition. For example, in the acetylation reaction, some people are fast acetylators while others are slow acetylators. This difference affects how quickly their body process certain drugs. Additionally, some people are born with condition called your inborn error of metabolism that can reduce or even prevent certain phase 2 reaction from working properly. Among these reaction, glucuronidation and sulfate conjugation are very common. They make drug molecules more water-soluble, allowing them to be easily eliminated from the body through bile or urine. However, reactions like acetylation and mercapturic acid synthesis can sometimes contribute to drug toxicity, meaning they might make a drug more likely to cause harm in certain situations. So, kaya, di ba sinasabi natin na itong phase 2 reaction, ito yung um, final destination or final process para ma-excrete yung mga gamot sa katawan. However, there are certain reaction in phase 2 that mentioned, no, the acetylation and the mercapturic acid synthesis. Instead na magpuproduce silang metabolite na excretable, polar, some of their metabolites are more active. Okay, so later there are examples of what are those drugs that can be acetylated to form more active compounds. Okay, these are some of the examples of the drugs na may metabolize or napaprocess under your phase 1 biotransformation. Ito naman for the phase 2 biotransformation and the continuation of the phase 1. So as you can see, in phase 2 reaction or synthetic reaction, nandito yung glucuronic acid conjugation, glycine conjugation. So nakikita nyo naman, no, glucuronic acid conjugation, ito yung kung sa mas popular sa among the reaction. Mas maraming gamot na nag-undergo in the glucuronic acid conjugation. Tsaka, ito yung sa acetylation, example niya, yung sulfonamide. Diba sabi natin kanina, yung sulfonamide, one of the drugs that have a more active or more toxic substance when metabolized because they undergo in acetylation process. In this table, you could see the different processes in the phase 2 biotransformation reaction. And there are two most important processes that we should be able to know or be familiar with. And these are the acetylation and glutathione and mercapturic acid conjugation. So first is the acetylation reaction. This is an important phase 2 reaction because it changes how certain drugs behave in the body. When a drug undergoes acetylation, the result is usually less water soluble than the original form. This can lead to some side effects if the drug builds up too much in the body. For example, your drug sulfanilamide, sulfadiazine, they become less water soluble after acetylation, as mentioned earlier. If these less water soluble forms concentrate too much in the kidneys, they can form crystals that may cause kidney damage or crystalluria. Crystalluria or crystal in the urine. Acetylation can also make drug last longer in the body. Take, for example, the procainamide. After acetylation, it turns into an acetylprocainamide, which stays active in the body for about 6 to 7 hours compared to 3 to 4 hours for procainamide itself, yung parent compound. Another key detail about acetylation is that it varies from person to person. Meron siya pharmacogenetic component. Some people are genetically slow in activators, while others are rapid in activators. When it comes to certain drugs like your isoniazid, so 'di ba gamot ng TB si isoniazid, slow activators clears the drug more slowly, which can lead to side effects like nerve issues like your peripheral neuritis if this drug builds up. Okay? And another important reaction, no, conjugation reaction, is your glutathione. It's a small but powerful molecule made up of 3 amino acids, the glutamate, cysteine, and glycine. It plays a key role in protecting cells by neutralizing harmful substances, especially those that are highly reactive and can damage cell structures. yung na-explain ko kanina about the NAT-QI and then the glutathione. One of the reason why your glutathione is so effective is because of the sulfhydryl group in the cysteine, which allow it to react with and detoxify reactive byproducts that some drugs create when they broken down in the body. So this reaction involves an enzyme called glutathione as transferase and helps form safer byproducts, which eventually turn into mercaptoric acid derivative that the body can easily remove. However, if there is an overdose of certain drug, yung sinasabi ko kanina, nag-overdose ka ng paracetamol, the body can run out of glutathione, making it harder to neutralize the harmful byproducts. When this happens, these byproducts can start to attach to cell components, especially in the liver, yung hepatocytes natin, causing cell damage or even liver cell death. In cases of acetaminophen overdose, doctors are often give your N-acetylcysteine or the NAC. Di ba isa to sa antidote ng acetaminophen overdose ang yung NAC or N-acetylcysteine. This drug kasi provide extra sulfhydryl group that acts like glutathione, helping the body neutralize the harmful byproduct and prevent cell damage. So, paano nga ba nahi-help ni N-acetylcysteine na paano na mahi-help na ma-detoxify ang metabolite na toxic? Sige. Isipin natin, So, meron kang toxic metabolite. Yan, ito yung toxic metabolite. Saka yung toxic metabolite na yan, i-detoxify siya ni glutathione. Okay? Ito siya yung reduced na form. Reduced glutathione. Kapag itong reduced glutathione binds with your toxic metabolite, itong glutathione magiging oxidized glutathione. So, yung oxidized glutathione now, hindi na siya magagamit para mag-detoxify ng another toxic metabolite. Okay? Para magamit mo siya, kailangan siyang ma-convert again into reduced glutathione. So, anong kailangan niya? Di ba nga may sulfhydryl group siya, itong si glutathione? Itong sulfhydryl group, ito yung na-oxidize or na-reduce. Ito yung nag-undergo ng redox reaction. Okay? So, kapag na-oxidize yung sulfhydryl group niya, hindi mo na magagamit na para gamitin sa another toxic metabolite. Ang kailangan niya is ma-convert siya into this form, the reduced one. So, paano? Dapat ma-convert or ma-revert rather yung sulfhydryl niya from reduced to oxidized. So, kailangan niya ng cysteine. Okay? Remember that cysteine are sulfide-containing substances. So, kapag may cysteine, example, your NAC, your NAC contains cysteine, di ba? N-acetylcysteine. And N-acetylcysteine, they contain sulfhydryl group. So, ito sila yung magbibigay ng sulfhydryl group sa yung oxidized na glutathione. So, i-replenish nila. Okay? So, from oxidized, kasi nga may cysteine galing sa NAC, ininom mo na NAC, yung cysteine na yun, meron siyang sulfhydryl group, ika-convert yung oxidized into reduced. So, itong reduced na glutathione, ito na naman yung magagamit para mag-detoxify ng toxic material or toxic metabolite. I hope that is clear. So these are some common drug biotransformation reaction. Another example of biotransformation reaction. Again, please take note that some of the drug products hindi naman isang phases yung ina-undergo nila. It depends on the functional group present. So, for example, aromatic rings, they can undergo hydroxylation alone. Pero if meron kang aliphatic hydroxyl group, so meron siya, pag-undergo siya sa chain oxidation, then after glucuronic acid, conjugation, and or sulfate conjugation. Ito yung sinasabi kanina, pwede siyang dalawa na process or pwede sa isa lang. Depende sa functional group na present sa kanya. Again, conjugation reaction, and then what functional group can undergo in that reaction. So, glucuronic acid conjugation, most, no? Karamihan ng mga functional groups dumadaan sa kanya. Tsaka, ito, acetylation. That's why in our field, kailangan natin, 'di ba, sa mga monograph, meron silang chemical structure, ganun, para alam natin kung anong present na functional group of meron sa gamot na yon, and then we can anticipate what metabolism reaction or phases ang pwede nilang pagdaanan. And then, you can anticipate, okay, for example, isoniazid, ganito pala yung may aromatic pala siya na pwede siyang dumaan sa acetylation. So, tingnan mo yung pasyente. Is your patient fast acetylator or fast inactivator or slow inactivator? And then you can anticipate if ramihan mo yung dose ng pasyente or not. Kasi nga, di ba, kung slow inactivator siya, so mas madali siyang mas madaling ma-reach yung toxic effect kasi nga mahina ma-inactivate yung metabolite. So, you can give lesser concentration of drug if the patient is a slow inactivator. So, kanina nag-flash yung assignment. Kindly list races, no? Races with slow inactivate who are slow inactivators or fast inactivators. So, this wraps up our part 1 of the chapter. Thank you for listening.